What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I'd like to go back 8 years, actually this month. 8 years exactly this month, I came across a content creator by the name of Mumia Obsidian Ali. And that was my introduction to the early stages of what we now know as the Black manosphere. And of course, I was coming into the community, so was he, and we didn't have a big name for that. But I remember at this time, Obsidian was the voice of the everyday brother, and one of the biggest people he was supporting at that time was Dr. Umar Johnson. Believe it or not, Mumia Obsidian Ali was the biggest supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson I had ever seen. And I'm talking about while he was on his side. Imagine that. Like, that was truth. Like, for those who remember, Obsidian was a big time supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson. However, because of Dr. Umar Johnson's personal failures, and I was too, I mean, I still am to a certain degree, but that has changed very quickly. That support has deteriorated from a lot of black men. And of course, black men have been questioning Dr. Umar. Now, there is a particular clip that I'm going to play from Obsidian Ali, Obsidian Media Network, and it's going to ask some questions about Dr. Umar Johnson and why somebody like that is successful in Black America. Let me play this, and I'm going to come back.
But I have noticed, because I'm thinking back to the Daily Wrap crew, the Daily Wrap-Up crew. I'm thinking back to their interview, 2 hours of conversation, and I cannot recall any intense grilling on the school. Did anybody else see that interview? I'm talking about not watch clips, not watch a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm talking about sit down and watch front to back the entire 2-hour interview, part 1, part 2. I did. And I cannot recall any discussion about the school. That is Dr. Umar's magnum opus. Look it up. That is his great work. That is what he has set out to do. Nobody imposed that on him. Nobody put that on him. He wasn't drafted. He decided to do that. And after nearly a decade, according to him, he got his first donation in 2014 in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. And after 9 years and an estimated $750,000 later, nothing. Now, there will be those who say that Dr. Umar has indeed a school in the state of Delaware, just south of me here in Philly, on 995 going south. The building is there, and that proves that Dr. Umar ain't bullcrapping. But the school is not open. The school hasn't been open. And there have been constant delays and scandals and controversy all along the way. I got started with Dr. Umar Johnson having a cloud of suspicion over his head in the summer of 2015 when I got underway. And I was an early supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson's early on. And my thing was, the brother's got to have time to get his act together. Fair enough. I think no reasonable person would disagree that Dr. Umar Johnson has had adequate time. I think we all can agree on that. And yet and still, nothing. Now, I am being reminded that there was discussion, rather brief, in the Daily Wrap-Up Crew interview toward the very end of a 2-hour interview. I find that ironic, given the stridency, given how strident Dr. Umar Johnson was regarding what other black men need to be doing, how other black men need to be leaders. I just find it interesting that Dr. Umar Johnson has so much to say and has so much time to say so many things. He's all over the place. He's here. He's there. It reminds me of the old Johnny Cash song. I've been there everywhere, man. I've been there everywhere. How can you be an effective teacher and administrator when you're everywhere? So while I disagree with you on this, I disagree with you on that. And what was interesting to me about that was it rarely went well for the callers. You see, it's one thing to have an emotional response. I get that. That's fair. People piss you off. People get on your nerves. I get that. But it rarely is a thing that's rational. You have to have a rational basis. You have to have some type of rational basis for your disagreement. And what I would find with many of the detractors of Kevin is that they rarely had a rational basis. It was emotionally based. But you see, in Black American culture, and we're not willing to admit this, in Black American culture, our feelings are more important than facts. So this is the reason why you can have black women call into Kevin's show, say to him, I don't like your delivery. And then Kevin, it says, okay, who does a better job in your mind? And they say, Dr. Umar Johnson. Even though Dr. Umar Johnson has failed to deliver on his own stated life's purpose.
So this video is called Dr. Umar Johnson is Running Scared. Let me first start off with some of the things here. First of all, he's talking about in the podcast, I'm looking for where's the school. Let me just give some critique on that. And I want to talk about this. If Dr. Umar Johnson, he was supposed to be in Uganda. If Dr. Umar Johnson comes onto my podcast, which is the Repat podcast, his ideas, in my honest opinion, would have nothing to do about the school for that particular subject matter. So I don't think it was Daily Rap Crew. They were having a discussion about the topic. The topic wasn't about Dr. Umar Johnson's school. The topic was about the subject, which was black men. He gave his honest opinion about that. So I don't think it was necessary for them to talk to him about that. And if I was to ever talk to Dr. Umar Johnson, it would never be about what happened to his school. That is something that is different. However, I would like to agree to the point that in Black America, and this is also very common in Africa too, it's not about competence, our ability or the ability to produce. It's about charisma. And he didn't say that verbatim, but I'm going to talk about that. And this is one of the reasons that Dr. Umar Johnson is so, I would say, relatively important in the Pan-African world. Despite not producing anything, he's able to get into the Breakfast Club. He's able to get big interviews. He's charging more for podcasts than before. And with that, it opens a conversation. What if you are a producer in Black America? If you can actually do things, you would actually be very successful since nobody will do it. That's something I want everybody to think about. Because nobody will do it, that should leave somewhat of an opportunity for you. let me get back to the point of why Dr. Umar Johnson has turned off black men. Men in general are productivity oriented. We respect productivity. This is why when you see men in comparisons to the sports they like, fantasy football league, what is the thing that men look for all the time? Stats. We like stats. Men like numbers. We like yards per carry for running backs and yards per catch after contact for wide receivers. Because numbers prove something. It proves how good you are overall, right? We want to know how good you are. And the one thing about men, and one of the reasons why I believe in this small space, because to grow a channel up to this level with almost all black men subscribers, I would assume for the most part, it's very difficult to do so if people feel like you're a liar or you're a scammer. And guys are just not gonna go for anything that women go for. Men are gonna be way more willing to hold you accountable for things quickly. And the problem is Dr. Umar Johnson can't take that. Like, a lot of guys will even go insofar as to whoop your ass. Like, you're not gonna just take my money and not do what you're gonna say you're gonna do. You're gonna get these hands. That's how most men are gonna look at it. Like, that's how we look at it, as disrespect. So the problem is that Umar has lost a lot of respect for black men, not necessarily because of his opinions. I believe that if he had this opinion and he had built the school, it would make more sense for a lot of black men to accept that. Although I know that this has nothing to do, his opinions have nothing to do with his efforts. However, because of his lack of productivity, people are going to combine those ad hominems. Unfortunately, it's how it works. People are going to be like, look, well, bro, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And that is because of a lack of productivity. And people are going to always look at him as, where's the school? And this is the reason why black men don't have, like, Umar Johnson doesn't have a whole bunch of black men following him like he used to. He got a whole bunch of women. Listen to the rallies. You might have some older brothers in the contest community that follow Dr. Umar, but you're going to see a lot of women there. Because a lot of men are not going to get with, I'm the Prince of Pan-Africanism and, like, I'm your leader, but you can't produce anything. It's hard for men to swallow somebody like that. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all of you subscribing to the bell. We're out.